Welcome to this week's discussion. Today, I will be reviewing some of the options for data aggregation that are available to us in the Pandas library. I'll start by reviewing what aggregation is, before discussing merging, and then finally touching on crosstabs and pivot tables. Let's get started. According to Stephanie Mullen in her 2021 book, Hands-on Data Analysis with Pandas, 2nd edition, a Python data science handbook for data collection, wrangling, analysis, and visualization, aggregation is when we roll up some data or take existing data and calculate a new statistic or data point from that existing data. Often, we will put this into an entirely new column of our data frame for easy reference down the line while we're doing our analysis. Doing this can be extremely useful for filtering down our data and delivering readable and useful statistics as well as visualizations to upper management as well as our users. After all, none of us can look at millions of records at once and draw accurate conclusions, can we? A couple of common examples of aggregations that you might be familiar with after working with these types of things for the past few weeks are maximums, which is where we find the highest value of our existing data, sums, where we add all of our data together, and groups, where we group our data based on a specific common data point. The first, and in my opinion the most important method of aggregation available to us in Pandas, is the merge method. The merge method is a very powerful method for combining data frames that reference each other into a single data frame. You can do this by using the merge method on a data frame. Mullen outlines a few different ways to use this method, which I will cover in a moment. When calling this method, there are a few different options available to you depending on what data you want to end up with. But the basic steps are the same. First, you make use of the onLeft and onRight options to tell Pandas what common data columns you'll be merging depending on. Alternatively, if your columns already have the same name in both data frames, you can just use the on option. Next, you'll choose from one of the 4 methods of merging that Mullen has outlined in her book. These methods are inner, outer, left, and right. And you specify this by using the on option. When you choose to use the inner option, or as we call it an inner merge, or join, the resulting data frame will only have records remaining where there was a matching record in both of the provided data frames. The opposite of this is the outer join, which according to Mullen will keep all of the values regardless of whether or not they exist in both data frames. The 2 data frames are often referred to as the left and right frames. According to Mullen, the left is the one on which you call the merge method, while the right is the one that you provide in the method call itself. When using a left join, records which exist on the left but not on the right side are kept, while the unmatched right records are dropped in the resultant data frame. A right join is the opposite of this. The records which exist on the right but not on the left are kept, while the unmatched left records are dropped. The final thing to discuss for this is going to be the join method. The join method is extremely similar to the merge method, but uses the left table's index for joining. You can also use the how option for this method to do a different type of join if that's what you want. The other 2 methods of aggregating data that we'll be covering today are the crosstab and pivot table methods. According to Mullen, the crosstab's most basic usage is to create a frequency table from your data. This type of table can allow us to get a better look at our data in a different format, as well as see how our frequencies look inside of our data. The second option is to use a pivot table. A pivot table is another method of looking at our data that can be quite useful, And this groups our data and then uses those groups as rows or columns. This is a useful way of getting a look at what the group data looks like for your data set. Today we've taken a brief look at what aggregation options are available for us in Pandas by reviewing what aggregation is, an extremely powerful method of combining data frames, and 2 great ways of getting an overview of your data. Thank you for listening to my discussion.